like the way that I carry this weight on my shoulders, or the burden that I buried in the back of my mind. I should take this time to realize what I'm doing with my life. Keep me safe. I need some guidance about now. Did I mistake you for someone who would be around? Keep me safe. I need some guidance about now. Did I mistake you for someone who would be around? Won't you be around? Won't you be around? Won't you be around? Won't you be around? As I sit, as I wait, I'm searching for a brand new space for me to go break free, if that's what I even need. And my bones are breaking under the pressure. Heartstrings might be wound too tender. Love that grips so close and tight. I know I need more sleep at night. Keep me safe. I need some guidance about now. Did I mistake you for someone who would be around? Keep me safe. I need some guidance about now. Did I mistake you for someone who would be around? Won't you 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 be around?
Hi, Tom Wegener here, and I'd like to show you the latest, greatest surfboard ever made. The best thing. Well, you're gonna say, Tom, we've heard you say that so many times before. And that is true. I've been saying it over and over again for the past 2 decades. But this time, I really mean it. Or maybe this is the latest evolution in surfing. That is the latest, greatest, and it's just marvelous right now. I'm going to explain why that is. There's an evolution with this surfing that has led to this surfboard. And so my surfing shaping started in the 1970s, and I didn't really make surfboards professionally until the late 1990s. And then in California, I was making traditional single fin longboards because I had to make them because nobody else was, and I just had this wild idea that someday single fins would become popular again, along with traditional surfing. In 1998, I moved to Australia and married my wife Margie, and quickly had 2 little kids, Finley and Sunday. And I was making surfboards in my factory at my house, and I didn't want my kids to grow up in that toxic environment. So in 2001, I was using the Polonia for my stringers and nose blocks and fins in my boards, and I found that this board didn't absorb salt water. And I thought, that's interesting. If I could make an entire board out of Polonia, I would make a board that wouldn't absorb salt water, would be very green and last forever, and be a lot easier than the balsa wood surfboards, and they would ride great. See, I rode balsa wood surfboards in the 1980s, and I loved the way they rode. But for every hour you had a balsa wood in the water, you had to spend 2 hours repairing all the dings in it because they were so old, they were from the 1950s. So with the hollow wood Polonia surfboard, I had made a green surfboard factory, and these boards became very popular along with this eco-green friendly message where the mulch went into the gardens and the trees and so forth, and it was a marvelous situation. And I made well over 200 hollow Polonia surfboards, and they were all sold for well over $3,000, so it was a really nice, lucrative time. And then during that time, I was able to experiment with the really long boards, and I made 17 boards that were over 12 feet long, one 18-footer, about 16 footers, and that style of surfing is intoxicating in a world unto itself. But the next evolution was the Alea evolution, or the Alea revolution. And I went to the Bishop Museum in 2004 and visited the ancient surfboards, and I was utterly blown away with the Alea and the Olo in their beauty and simplicity. So along with Jacob Stuth here back in Noosa, I started making the Aleas to try to find out the secrets of the ancient Hawaiian surfing and to see what finless surfing could become and what it is. And we slowly evolved the Alea into what we now see now with the Aleas. And at the time, I had the best surfers in the world working with me, like David Rosovich, Tom Carroll, and Tom Curran, and Harrison Roach riding the Aleas and getting the feedback. And so we took the Alea to our long ways, and it was a very, very wild, fun journey. However, it wasn't lucrative in the fact that only about 1% of the people could ride an Alea. Maybe not even that. Maybe 0.5 of the surfers in the world could actually surf an Alea. So the next journey after that was to find a way to make a board that surfed just like an Alea, but floated. See, the Alea was extra special because it had that wood feeling, because wood rides really, really great, as I've found over and over again. And it had the slick oiled wood surface on the bottom. And that oiled surface has no surface tension, which makes the board go so fast. Most surfboards, fiberglass boards, what slows them down is your surface tension. And you take away the surface tension, and you have a whole different surfboard, and then you add flex to a surfboard, you have a whole other surfboard again. They're two incredible variables. And I wanted to find a way to take the wood variable, the super slick variable, and turn it into a surfboard that we all can ride. And that journey went to the Sea Glass project. So as I was trying to make it, I couldn't do it. Didn't have the materials here in Australia. So I went to Global Surf Industries, and I made the Sea Glass Tuna and the Sea Glass Albacore. And they're fantastic boards. And developing that shape was a year of real excitement and involvement with my team riders like Isaac Blythe and Matt Williams, defining the surfboard, finding what a finless surfboard can do. And it was about the flex. We found it was flex, but it was not the wood flex. It wasn't what I was after. So I pretty much stopped making boards, given up on making boards, and needed a break, so I went to university and I got a PhD in the surfboard industry. See, that's post-2009, after the global financial crisis. It looked like the surfboard industry was going to disappear altogether. And so I thought, well, is there anything I can do to help save the surfboard industry? I'll put my tools down, because I'm pretty burnt out at this point, right? Research it. I ended up writing a book, Surfboard Artisans for the Love. And the findings of my book was the surfboard industry, or the whole surfing culture, is largely based on those handful of people that are evolving surfboards and making better surfboards. Those guys in the backyard of the sheds that are creating the new stuff that becomes popular, well, those guys are the heart and soul of what surfing is. So after my book, it was back into the shed, and I thought, once again, how am I going to mix super slick, flex, flotation into a board? And I came across Cork and watched other people use Cork. Bob McTavish had wrapped his boards in Cork before. Diverse was using Cork. Cork was on the fringes, people were using it. And I thought, you know what? If I have a wood bottom on a board, so if I could put sheets of Polonia on the bottom of a board, maybe 2 or 3 layers of it, the board would flex. And if I use super dense EPS foam, the foam would crush into itself and then bounce back out again. And so then I'd have the bottom of the board with the EPS foam flexing. And then I could put a thick stringer through the middle. And with that thick stringer, I could control the flex of the board, so I'd have this board that would crush into itself. I tried this with other materials, and they would buckle on the deck, because as the board crushes into itself, it buckles. But what about cork? I put cork on top of the foam with the new foaming glue, the polyurethane foaming glue. The glue penetrates into the cork, penetrates about a centimeter down into the foam, and all of a sudden the cork and the foam will crush into themselves, giving you a flex that's just magical. So you have the wood, the flotation, and the super slick surface all in one surfboard, which is the Corky, and that's why this is so exciting. And you wind up with a surfboard that's strong, light, flexible, super slick bottom, and safe to ride. By the way, they are safe. And you can make any board with this method. You can make a belly board, a boogie board, a fish, a finless board, a longboard, a 12-footer. The same basic materials, the three materials, which is a piece of Polonia, sheets of Polonia, EPS, and cork, like I said, 4 materials. You can make anything. It's really great that way. You're not dependent on the surf industry to give you the materials to make a narrow scope of boards. You have this freedom. So I invite you to come out to my place and make a Corky with me and see how I do it, and then take it from me. Like I didn't invent the entire process. I'm just on the shoulders of giants like Grant Newby before me, who really worked with the EPS first, and lots of others that I can't even mention. There's so many. Thank you very much.